guys. All right, so welcome to my first video. Eee! Okay, so I know that back in like, I don't know, like August maybe, I said, like I asked like online, like who wanted me to do videos, because like I have my blog and stuff, and like I post like makeup to that on Facebook and on Instagram. And I had a ton of likes and comments saying that you would like me to film. Took me a little while to get to it, but here I am, so yay. So I figured I'd start off by doing more of like educational based videos, because I had some people comment on my Facebook post saying that they would like love to learn how to do makeup, you know, don't know where to begin. So certainly like brushes are gonna be like a big part of that, and I know like brushes can be like overwhelming. So I figured for this first video I would talk a little bit about like eyeshadow brushes and what I think are, you know, like essential to have, and like the differences between them. These are brushes that I use every day or almost every day to achieve an eye look. And keep in mind that it's good to have like multiples of the same brush, so that way like if one brush gets dirty, then you'll have like a clean one to use, so on and so forth. So yeah, so let's get started. Oh, also, do you like my pretty background? It's like sparkly, like a sparkly gold. Isn't it so pretty? It's like festive, and I feel like super festive with like my green sweater and my red lip. Like, I'm loving it. So first I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna start off with eye brushes, and then in, you know, the next video I'll do face brushes, because I didn't want to mesh them together and then, you know, you get too overwhelmed, because I know it can be like really overwhelming if you're just starting out in makeup and you don't really know like what like brushes to use for what. So this first brush that I'm going to talk about, it's going to be a fluffier one, like this one right here. And this is going to be a synthetic haired brush because it has the, you know, the black hairs. And this one specifically, I've had it for a while, so like the name is like kind of rubbed off, but it's the Sigma E40, which I really recommend using Sigma brushes. Like they were my first like professional like brushes that I started using. But what this one is good for is like your transition color, like in the crease. Like it's nice and fluffy to be able to blend out that color that you initially like first put down in your crease. So every single day, every single look, I go in with a brush like this. It's also good for just like blending out color in general. Like if you put like color, like a darker color on with like a smaller, denser brush, I also like to use this type of brush to like blend out like the eyeshadow. So another brush that I feel like is really good to have is the Sigma E35, and it looks like this here. So this one's going to be more of a natural haired brush because it's going to be white. And again, this one is from Sigma. This one is just like a basic fluffier brush that you can use for blending. Synthetic brushes versus natural hair brushes, like your natural hair brush, that's gonna put the color on like very sheer and very lightly, versus like something with like synthetic hairs like this one, you're gonna get more pigment payoff, I guess you could say, like with your eyeshadows. So this one, I just use it for like primarily like blending. Like if this one is dirty, I'll go in with this one and then just like blend out color. It's just good to have multiple like blending brushes in like your brush collection. So another one that I recommend having is, let's see, the Morphe R37, and it looks like this. So when you look at it, it's more of like a dome shape, I guess. It's fluffy, but it's a little bit more, like I said, dome shaped, versus like if you compare it to this one's a lot fluffier. The bristles up here are going to be like in a wider shape, versus like this one, it kind of like points a little bit more. This one is good for like getting into the crease area. It just gets a little bit more precise with the eyeshadow, since it does have a little bit more of like slightly a little bit more of like a point up at the top. I also think it does a really good job with blending out eyeshadow too. So I'll use it, you know, just to put like a little bit, like maybe like a medium tone brown or like a medium tone color like into the crease area, and then just primarily just like blending out color in general. But it does a really good job blending out the shadows on its own, and it's really affordable too. Like if you've never bought anything from Morphe before, I think their products honestly can be hit or miss, but this one is a really nice brush and I actually really recommend it because it's like so affordable. So another brush that I recommend having is this one here. It's the Morphe E22 and it looks like this. So this one is going to be like a nice blending brush. It's a little denser versus the other ones. So even like feeling it, it's like the bristles are more compact together. It's not as fluffy, but it's still good for packing on color. Like if you want to pack on like a little bit of color like out here, but still have that blending option, I guess you could say. This one's going to be a really nice option for that. Versus like the other ones, I'd say that they're not, not like as good as far as like packing on like a ton of pigment because they're primarily used for blending. This one, I feel like you can pack on a little bit more pigment with it, but then also be able to blend with it as well, since it isn't super dense, but it's dense enough to where it'll pack on color, but then still fluffy enough to where you can blend with it. You know what I'm saying? I hope I'm not being confusing. Okay, so those ones are like the fluffier brushes that I like to use for like blending and all of that jazz. So another one that I think is a great option to have, which I have a couple of them, is this one from Sigma, and it is the Sigma E25. So it looks like this. So compared to the Sigma one here, this one you can see is a lot, like is a smaller shape versus this one's a lot fluffier. This one is primarily like I use it for like packing on color in the outer corner if I want to be more precise, like kind of like how I did with the dark brown out here. That's what I used this for. It's good for just packing it on out there, and then you can like still blend it out a little bit, but I still like to go in with one of like the fluffier brushes like this Morphe one or even like the Sigma one and still like blend that color out to get a smoother line. This one's also really nice like if I want to do like a halo eye. It's good for like packing the color in here too, out here, and then being able to blend it up and through the middle of the crease. Another one that I recommend having is the Sigma E45. It looks like this. This one is a tapered blending. So if you look at this one compared to the last one that I showed, completely different shape. So what I like to use this one for is I like to go underneath of the eye with it when I want to smoke out color. I'll go in with like a light colored eyeshadow and blend it out underneath of there. Even like darker shadows sometimes. You have to be careful with it though, since it is still a little bit thicker to go underneath of there. You don't want to get like too sloppy with it, but I like to use this to go underneath of here specifically. Sorry if the angle looks different or if like the lighting and all is different. My camera just like overheated from filming and it made me, shut it off so I can cool down. So if the zoom is different or if the angle is different, that's why. Okay, so picking back up where I left off, the next brush that I recommend having is this one from Morphe. So it is the Morphe E18 and it is shaped like this. So it is considered like a pencil brush. So it's just gonna be short, stubby, and pretty dense. So what I use this for is smoking out the lower lash line. Now I go in with a different brush to apply the color, because you know how I said I went in with this brush underneath of there as well. I'll use this like if I go in with like a light, like say like a light brown or like a light wash of color, and I'll put that underneath of there first, kind of like when you put a transition color in your crease. But then I also go in with this and another brush that I'm about to show you. But the next brush that I'm about to show you, I packed that on, like I packed the color on with that. And then this one I use to blend out darker colors underneath of my lower lash line. It's great because it's dense. You can pack on color with it too if you want to use this, because it'll get the job done with blending and packing on the color at the same time because it is a denser brush. But I just like to go in with like 3 separate brushes, just for no reason, just because I like to. So I recommend a pencil brush because you're going to want to use that when you blend out darker shadows underneath of your lower lash line. So the next brush is the one that I was just talking about that I use to pack on darker colors underneath of the lower lash line. And this one, I have to find the name. So it's the Sigma E15. So it is shaped like this. So this is a flat definer brush. So it's just very flat, obviously, by the name. Like I said, I use this for darker colors. When placing it underneath of my lower lash line, then I will go in with the pencil brush that I just talked about, and then I will blend out that color. You want to blend it out because you don't want a super harsh line of shadow underneath of this lower lash line here, because it's just not a cute look. Nobody wants that. Another thing that I use this for is when I go on my top lash line right here, I'll take like a dark shadow, like either like a black or like a dark brown, instead of using an eyeliner. And I'll go in there and stamp out as close as I can to that lash line area to give the appearance of like an eyeliner, but it's just not going to be as harsh as like a black or like a brown, eyeliner. And then you can even go in, with the pencil brush too, and if you want that to be smoked out a little more along your lash line to make it look like a smoky liner, you can use that for that as well. Like I've done that plenty of times. So I definitely recommend this one. I use it every single day. I use this pencil brush every single day. And then, I use this one every single day underneath of my lower lash line. And I don't even use them all at the same time. Like I may just use this one if I'm just doing something quick and easy, get out the door. But if I want to do something a little smokier, I'll use all three. So I recommend all three, honestly. Okay, so the next brush that I'm going to talk about is this one. So this one is from MAC. This one is the MAC 242. So this one is just super flat like this. So I use this for packing on color onto the lid. So it's great because it's flat and dense to where it'll pick up, the color when you want to pack it onto the lid area. It's also dense enough to pick up like loose glitter and pack that onto the lid too. I mean, of course, you'd want to go in with like a glitter glue and stuff, but this is going to be good to hold that glitter to pack it on because it's so dense and flat. It's also great with like loose pigments, and just like glittery, shimmery eyeshadow is just really great at picking up that product and packing it on. So I use this even for like my brow bone area. Is this like, okay, focus. I like using this for like my brow bone area when I want to highlight. It's great for that as well. So I really, really, really recommend going in with like a flat brush, either this MAC one, and it doesn't even have to be MAC. It could be really any flat, dense eyeshadow brush is going to do the job. So I really, really recommend getting one like this if you want to, pack on color on your lid and it actually have pigment, versus something, that's fluffier like this one here, like that Sigma one that I showed you. I mean, people may ask, is it really necessary to have all these brushes? Yes, it's necessary because they each do different things. So if, your smoky eye is not coming out the way that, if you're watching a video and it's not coming out the same, or if you're looking at a picture and it's not coming out the same, take a look at the brushes that you're using, because they may be, you may be using a specific brush for the wrong thing. Or, somebody may ask, I only have one brush. Can that do the same job as, all of the other brushes? No, it cannot. So that could be the reason why, your makeup's not turning out the way you want, because you're not using the right brushes, or you may be just using one brush for everything and it doesn't work like that. So listen to me and get, multiple brushes. It may be expensive up front, but if you want your eyeshadow to be blended out and look good and look the way that you want to, it's an investment. So get multiple brushes. The next brush that I'm going to talk about, sorry, like this camera's like cutting off of my head. But this next brush that I'm going to talk about is like a little itty bitty tiny thing. So it is the Morphe E36. So it is shaped like this. So it is a tiny little guy. So I just primarily use this when I want to highlight in this inner corner right here. It's great for that because it just fits right in there nice and tight. I also use it, sometimes on my brow bone as well. If I don't want to cover up like a larger area like you can with, this MAC one that I showed you. This one is just nice for like detail work or like getting into like smaller spaces. So that's the only thing I use this for, is just primarily for inner corner highlight and sometimes brow bone highlight, but I mainly use that MAC one for the brow bone. This one's also great, like today for my lips. Like I overline my lips because, you know, I have like a smaller top lip and I want them to look a little fuller. So I'll highlight my Cupid's bow, but I don't want to go in with like a bigger brush that I would normally use when I already have lipstick on. So one like this is really great for that detail work after I have my lipstick on. Go in with a highlighter and then highlight my Cupid's bow because it fits in there nice and you're not getting the highlighter like all over your lipstick and messing it up. So I recommend this one. I use it every single day, so this one's nice. So just 2 more brushes left. So the next brush that I'm going to mention is this Sigma one. It's the Sigma E65. So it's like this. So it's just a small angled brush. And this one is great for going in and doing like a winged liner if you prefer a brush. Now, of course, if you like using, you know, like an eyeliner pen, you use that. Nothing wrong with that. But for those who prefer using a brush and like a gel eyeliner, this one is really nice. It just has like a nice angle to it. I start it with like, you know, like this shorter end right here, like this, angle it up, like the shorter end angled up towards my brow. It's just nice for getting that line. And then with this sharper point on this tip here, being able to connect it and like just fill it in through here. So that's just primarily what I use it for. Like I'll also take like my gel liner and on this brush, and if I want to go in on my waterline, I'll use this as well. But it's just like a basic angled eyeliner brush. So this one's a really nice one. There's also like cheaper options too, like you don't have to do the Sigma one. The last brush that I recommend, it's not necessarily like you don't like need it like you do like all of the other blending brushes. Like if you want to get the job done correctly, like you're going to need like those other types of styles of, you know, brushes or something similar. Like I said, this one isn't necessary, but I'm just, you know, adding it in here in case you're interested in it. But this one is the Sigma E10, and it is just a little tiny guy like this. So this one is nice because with it being like so like tiny and small, it's good for like if you're having trouble like getting like your wing to be like super pointed at the end. This one's nice to be able to just dip it in the liner and then just be able to kind of like extend that point out a little bit. So it just like helps with the process of your, you know, your wing if you're like having like a little trouble with it, which I definitely can at times, which I don't even really do wings anymore, but you know, like when I used to do wings a lot, like this one was really helpful. So like I said, it's not a necessity, but I just wanted to throw it in here for if like you ever have trouble with like winged liner, with like getting that point. This can just like assist you a little bit. So yeah, so that was all of my eyeshadow brush basics, I guess you could say, that I like to use on, you know, the daily or most of the time when I do my eyeshadow. So keep in mind, you don't have to use, you know, these exact ones that I'm recommending. Like if you know, find like a cheaper option, like for instance, like Morphe has really affordable brushes, that's completely fine. It's just getting the general idea of like what each brush is for, fluffier ones versus like denser ones, and like everything in between. But yeah, like I said earlier, like if you're having issues with like your eyeshadow, you know, not blending right, or that smoky eye that you're trying to achieve, if you're not like getting it right, or you're like, man, you know, I just can't get it right, like I'm following every step in this video, but it just doesn't look the same as the video or the picture that I'm following. Like just take a look at your brushes and think to yourself, am I using the correct brush for this step? Or am I only using one brush and I should be using like a bunch of different ones to achieve the look that I'm going for? So hopefully this helps. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. But if you have any questions, just let me know and then I'll get back to you. Like I said, in my next video, I'll be doing more like another educational based one of like face brushes and like what I think is essential for like your complexion and everything like that. So yeah, so I hope you liked it. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.